This is the Football Podcast with your hosts, Tyler, Andy, and Boyer.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Podcast, presented by two of your performance-enhancing dads and our buddy Paul. What's going on, Paul?
What's going on? I am not a dad.
You're not
sorry.
a dad.
Not even close to being a dad. So
let's just keep it that way for a while.
Yeah.
Should we have thought of that when we were debating who to bring in to sub for Boyer? Should we have started with the dads first?
Well, we only have a couple of those.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, Paul's not been on, so it's nice to have you.
I'm happy to be on.
Let's jump into tweets from last week, see how you guys feel about this. Fryer gives up Sermon and Michael Thomas and gets Montgomery and Christian Kirk from Walker. What do you want to jump in on thoughts on that one?
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm going to be honest with you. When I first saw it, because this trade came through Yahoo and it still has not been announced yet. Well, actually, no, I lied. I thought there was going to be draft money involved, and there was not. So initially, Montgomery's hurt now, so this trade kind of sucks, but this was a steal for Fryer. I'm assuming that Walker's thought process was getting Trey Sermon, who is going to be relatively productive, potential keeper for $16 next year, but maybe not really. And then Michael Thomas, who might provide some sort of value at some point this year, but also could be a potential keeper value for $10 next year. But I thought this was a no-brainer when I saw it for Fryer, especially with there's no draft money involved.
Yeah,
I was stunned by that.
Andy Boyer and I, as soon as that happened, we were all like, "Where's the draft money?" So
Right.
We were all right with you. We were like, "There's no way that went through without any sort of draft capital to go with it." But sure enough, it did. So
Yeah, I see what Walker was trying to do, and I mean, Paul nailed it. Like Sermon and Thomas both could have keeper value, and if Michael Thomas comes back and is good, and if Sermon cements himself as the RB1, which I expected him to do better than he did last week, I thought that maybe he was gonna be able to do something against the Seahawks, who have been completely hammered by running backs the last couple of weeks. Then it would have looked a little bit better, because I'm not real big on Christian Kirk, and Montgomery's good, but up until Laser started calling plays this week, Montgomery had not been anything terribly exciting. So like, I get it, but at the same time, if you're not getting money out of selling your number one running back and really the only good player on your team at that point, that kind of sucks. And Walker's already down money next year, if I'm remembering right. So like, yeah, you got two guys who might be keepers and your team might be slightly better this year, but look at your team. Is a slightly better team, if these guys pan out, going to do anything for you? No, you're still way behind the rest of the league. Sorry, you are. You needed more than this for the future, because that's what you're aiming for.
yeah. All right, so let's move to the next one. Charlie gives $4 draft dollars in 22 to get Sony Michel off of Andy. Let's go ahead and pair this one with the next one, because this is the reason the trade was made. Charlie gives up Zeke and Madison to Jeremy to get Godwin, Henderson, and $2 draft dollars in 22. So essentially, Charlie moves Zeke and Madison and a couple draft dollars to pick up the Rams backfield and Godwin. I like that move. I mean, was it ideal for him to move Zeke this week with Henderson still not fully healthy, possibly playing a split backfield at that time? Maybe not, but to make the move, I'm not mad about it. Getting Godwin, getting the Rams backfield, and eventually Henderson's going to come back and cement himself in. If Sony Michel takes a bunch of the pass work, takes some, even gets into a 40-60 timeshare with Henderson, it might not look great because Zeke and Pollard are both putting up numbers. But I expect Henderson to come back, take the role, really run with it, not look back. So in the long run, getting Godwin plus that backfield, I like the moves by Charlie there.
Yeah, I thought this was a win-win for both teams. Charlie desperately needed to make a trade that was 2 for 1. I thought it was perfect, especially after getting Michelle from Andy. Upset that Jeremy now has Zeke and we're fighting for the top spot. But I thought this was a win-win for both teams for sure.
Yep. I don't have much to add. I think the only thing that didn't get mentioned was that Charlie was playing Walker last week. So if you had concerns about what the Rams backfield was going to do, it was in a week where you weren't really needing him. So he could have an extra week to let things settle out.
That's fair. All right. So then we get down to Fryer is giving up New England defense, $1 draft dollar, and 5 fab to get Madison from Jeremy. So Jeremy just picks up Madison from Charlie and then trades him right away to Fryer to get New England's defense, $1 draft dollar, and 5 fab. Andy, you want to jump in on that one first?
Yeah. So let me ask you guys real quick, just in a vacuum, would you rather have Madison or Sony Michel?
I would rather have Madison.
Ty?
Probably Madison, because that team is more devoted to the run, and you've seen kind of what Madison can do. I like Sony Michel. I just don't know. The Rams haven't shown me that they're going to use Sony in the way that Minnesota is going to use Madison if the top running backs are out.
Sure. Because I got $4 for Sony Michel, and Henderson was hurt but coming back and has some injury history. Jeremy got, if we do a 10-to-1 fab conversion, $1.50 plus a New England defense for Madison. And apparently Jeremy will pay $4 for a defense, given his Tampa Bay trade earlier this year. So who knows how he values his now second defense that he's acquired via trade. But like, I felt like Madison's value, especially given the game that he had while Dalvin was down the week before, should have been more than what Jeremy got back. That said, Jeremy didn't need Madison. He added $1. He added some fab. He added a defense. I'm fine with it overall. I just think that he could have gotten more.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Jeremy should have gotten a lot more for Madison, especially for somebody who has Cook. I think you absolutely have to get Madison. I can't remember what he went for in the draft last year as a handcuff, but if you have Cook, you want Madison. I thought Jeremy should have gotten a lot more than he did, but I guess it's fine.
Anything to add, Ty? Did we lose him?
Uh-oh.
All right, let's roll into this last trade. Fryer gave $1 draft dollar to Colin for 15 fab. Paul, what'd you think?
So, gonna be honest, Fryer came to me about the same exact deal. I declined. I said I would do $2. And obviously he said no. I have another offer on the table, 2 for 20, and I was like, cool, no worries. I don't know. This is a fine trade. But you know, Colin gets $1 for next year. Fryer gets his free agent bucks. I'm assuming he's gonna go after a guy like Damian Williams, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So, Fryer, good for you for shopping. Like, especially on something as straightforward as fab. Like the fact that you were able to go out and get 15-to-1 instead of 10-to-1, like what we stick pretty close to. It's not always exactly, but it's usually pretty close to 10-to-1. Good for you, buddy. But 2, like Fryer's scrambling to get some money because he wants to go salvage his Montgomery ad from his trade with Walker, right? He's probably looking at Damian Williams. Why is anybody giving him better than historical market value on fab when he's a desperate man coming to you looking to do something? Like, good for Fryer for feeling it out and getting the best deal possible, but the best deal possible for him should have been 10-1 because he's a guy who needs to go make that move now.
And that's the reason I countered with 2, because I thought he'd be desperate enough to do that deal. He did not. I probably would have said I'll do $2 and up the free agent dollars to 17 or $18, but for me personally, don't really need the draft dollars for next year. Would rather have the free agent bucks. Probably won't spend all my free agent bucks this year, but would like to have it. So,
Ty, should we get you back yet?
Yeah, sorry. Kamish was calling me, which cut out my awesome sound on my awesome phone. Just another perk of working off
Coors
Verizon.
money?
Yeah, off Verizon. Killing my
Not a sponsor, not going to be anytime soon. Thanks, Verizon.
No, I think it was a good move. Fryer getting his 15 fab. If he thinks he's going to need it, going to use it, good for him. And then that Madison one, I agree with you guys. Jeremy probably could have gotten a little bit more out of it. I also don't know his love for all these defenses, but talk to him about it.
He's 4-0. You can't fault him for that. I don't think his defense is doing it though.
Well, he'll get mad at me if I talk too much about his defenses without asking him. So.
Yeah, we have to consult him first was the request, I believe.
So, all right. Other than that, you guys ready to jump into injury and news?
Yeah, you want to take those since you were MIA for a few minutes?
Oh yeah, sure. Why not? All right. So Monty's out 4 to 5 weeks with a knee. Looking like Williams is going to take over there. They said Herbert could or could not also get a little role. Who the heck knows? Not good for Fryer on that trade. Logan Thomas is out with a hammy. And Garoppolo and Bridgewater could both be out this next week. We're not really sure what's happening there yet. Any major fantasy things you guys want to cover there other than maybe Trey Lance affects the Niners differently with him in instead of Garoppolo?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Trey Lance thing is I know there was a lot of pre-draft hype for Trey Lance, pre-fantasy draft. Everybody was really high on that guy, and now we're 4 weeks in, and he's looking like he might get a chance to start, and I'm not hearing it near as much as I was back in August. So we'll see. The talent's there. He's got the legs to be a good fantasy quarterback. So I don't know what that means for the rest of the weapons there, but outside of Debo, I don't feel like the Niners offense has been that much of a fantasy provider. So we'll see if anything changes, and it could hurt Debo. I don't think anything at this point can make Debo better. So you just have to worry about if this changes who is getting those looks. But the big one obviously here is Monty being out for a month at least. And then seeing who scrambles fastest to get Damian Williams, looking like it'll be Fryer.
yeah, I don't have anything to add. I think Damian Williams is going to be a solid pickup. That is, if Bill Lazor continues to call plays. But yeah, nothing more to add there.
Is there anything Bridgewater to Drew Lock in Denver that you guys are going to see that's going to be different, or is it still going to be the same basic Denver offense that's, to be honest, not producing huge fantasy numbers to start with?
Yeah, I think if Judy was still there, that I would say that there would be a shift from one to the other, just because the type of ball that these two quarterbacks throw is kind of different. But being that it's only Sutton and Fant there, they're pretty much the only game in town. I don't think that there's much that can change. I think that talent-wise, Locke and Bridgewater are both going to be low mid-level quarterbacks, so
Right.
It's not going to make the offense any better or worse, and there's only so many guys that he can throw to that are talented athletes in the NFL, so not much is going to change in my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm more so looking forward to Drew Lock dancing on the sidelines again, singing his song, rapping.
All right. With that, let's move into a quick week 4 recap. Andy, you want to give us the quick matchup breakdowns?
Oh yeah, the thing that Boyer does where he talks way too much about what happened already.
Yeah. Well, we could just talk about who
He's
we
not here, I
predicted
can
and
say
who
that.
won.
Oh, the thing that we don't do anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
those things that we forgot last week.
Week 4 picks. Got it. So Ty, you were the big winner last week because you picked yourself to beat Fryer, and Boyer and I thought that Tom Brady was still good at football, but we must have been mistaken. So Ty, you actually went 5-1. Everybody picked me to beat Jeremy, and unfortunately, Jeremy is 4-0 this week. And then Boyer picked himself to beat Chris. That didn't happen. Ty picked himself to beat Fryer, and that did happen. So Ty had 5 wins. I had 4. Boyer had 3. The week before, which we didn't call out last week, I won't go matchup by matchup, but Boyer and I both went 5-1. Ty went 3-3. So that brings our total wins on the season. Boyer and I tied with 16. Ty's down at 13.
If I pick you, I apologize. And then Paul will start our guest predictions off this week, so don't screw it up, Paul.
Yeah, I'll
All
try
right.
not to.
Let's move into a thing we learned in week 4. Andy, you want to jump into that first?
Yeah, this is something that I'm really struggling with. So there's this guy, he played for the Vikings. He played for, hell, I don't even know who he played for. Maybe the Patriots, and then he played for the Bears. And now he's on the Falcons. His name's Patterson. And nowhere ever in his life was he that good at playing football. I mean, he could return kicks, which is exciting, but fantasy-wise, who gives a shit, right? But now this guy, through 4 games, is currently both the RB2 and the wide receiver 4 on the year. When Colin picked him up and spent a good chunk of his fab to do it 2 weeks ago, I thought that was stupid. Colin hasn't played him in his lineup yet, to my knowledge, so I
played him last week. If he
I
would have played
stand
him last
behind
week-
that.
If you would have played him last week, you would have won.
I'm just saying, if you drop $45, 45 fab on a guy who's scoring 3 touchdowns a week and you don't play him, then you're still dumb. You still overpaid. But like, I still don't this week, next week, I don't know when I will be convinced that Cordero Patterson is a thing. I'm still not. I don't buy it. It's happening. It's working. But if I had him on my team, I would not be playing him, and he'll keep scoring points. Maybe, I don't know, but it's wild. It's wild. I don't understand. The guy's 30, and he's on a bad offense. Like, Kyle Pitts isn't doing anything. Mike Davis isn't doing anything. Calvin Ridley's not doing anything. But here's Cordero Patterson lighting the world on fire. Who knows? That's what I learned this week. Is that guy's RB2 right now?
So I'm gonna ask you guys both a question on Cordero Patterson. If you're Colin right now, like, what are you doing with him? Is there any sort of trade value as if you can sell high, or do you think everybody knows what Cordero Patterson is, might be a fluke, and you're just like, he's better off on your own team, but you might not even play him? I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, somebody like Boyer or Walker or Fryer would have to be interested, right? But I don't know what you're going to get out of him, even from one of those guys.
Right.
yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. So there you go.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Ty.
No, all good. So I think somebody's willing to give you $2, $3, $4 draft dollars over the next couple of years, maybe. And for Patterson, maybe that's good. I mean, maybe you just take that and run.
If I was
But if you-
Colin, I'd take that and run.
But the problem is he spent 40 some draft dollar or fab on him. So
Yeah,
really,
40
you-
even. So
So if you move him for $2 or $3 draft dollars, you went under the 10-to-1 fab is what it's really looking like.
mhm.
So I mean, I don't know. I think at this point, Colin just, I mean, if he can get 3 or 4 out of him, cool, move him. But I don't think he's getting that.
I don't think
and at this
anybody's
point,
giving it to him.
He's just a hold at this point, I think, is what it has to
And maybe you're happy to hold him on your bench, watch him score 20 every week, not believe in him, but know that he can't be used against you. Like,
Right.
that's not a horrible strategy, because otherwise you end up with somebody like Walker having him, and then Walker gets a fluke win against you because Cordero Patterson went off for 3 receiving touchdowns for no reason, and now you're looking at a loss. So it's a way to play the game.
be. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, my week 4 thing I learned is James Robinson is just good. I don't know what the hell Urban Meyer was thinking, but the dude needs to get the ball, and he needs to just be fed the rock 15 to 20 times a game if Jacksonville wants any shot in hell to win a game. So drafting ETN was still they blew my mind when they did it, and it's still blowing my mind because Robinson is still proven that he's a hell of a running back. Doesn't matter if he's undrafted. I don't know when he comes into the NFL and proves it. You let it run. So I don't know.
You would think that a coaching staff and front office would be like, "Whoa, found money. Now we have a stud running back that we don't have to pay anything for the next however many years." But no, they want it to be their guy. They want the credit for everything that happens. It can't be the old administration that gets it. It's got to be their guy. So big dicks prevail.
Apparently.
Yeah, I guess I'll go for Boyer here since he's not here. Stating kind of the obvious, Bears look night and day different with Bill Lazor as the offensive coordinator, and it needs to stay that way. Matt Nagy needs to get out of his own way and just like be a head coach. Just be a head coach because that's the only shot that you have at keeping your job. Because the Bears' offense looked great with Lazor, and I hope it stays that way.
They at least had an identity.
Completely agree. Hey, being bad is an identity. Nagy has perfected it.
But
Yeah, Boyer and I were watching the game at our own respective houses on Sunday, and like 4 plays into the game, Boyer's like, "It looks like Lazor's calling the plays today." I'm like, "Did they say anything about that?" And he's like, "No, it just looks like it." And then after the game, they're like, "Oh yeah, Lazor was calling plays today." It's like,
Yeah, and like Nagy didn't even say it right off the bat. He denied it at first and said, whatever. I
why?
can't remember what the quote was.
Why?
I don't understand. Like everything just really weird. The way that they operate is just so bizarre. But whatever.
I don't get it.
all right.
Politics, man.
All right. Well, let's jump into week 5 matchups here. Start sit decisions. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with the 2 of you. So Paul versus Andy. I'll run
Get
through
the
them
good
and then
one out of the way.
I'll let you guys kind of talk your way through your lineups. So Andy's got, I'm going to run through the lineup real quick. Herbert, McLaurin, Williams, Chubb, Hunt, Kelsey, Hawkinson at the flex currently, and a kicker and defense. Don't care about those.
Can we call Chubb and Hunt Chunt? Will YouTube let us say Chunt?
Maybe.
Just to save time. I know we've been running long the last couple weeks.
Go
ahead.
All right, I'm going to keep moving. Your bad jokes are just as bad here as they are at the end of the podcast.
Somebody's got to do it.
So really, the only thing we'd look at maybe would be throw in Javonte Williams into the flex over Hawkinson. We talk about Hawkinson in that flex every week. But at this point, I'm not starting Anderson. I'm not starting Reagor. You've got Moore and Bateman, which aren't really playable pieces yet. And then you got Freeman. And Royce Freeman, I'm not really taking the shot on yet. Yeah. So your only option is Javonte Williams or Hawkinson. Hawkinson's had a couple down weeks. They do have Minnesota, which we all kind of expected to be a shootout with that defense last week. And for whatever reason, Minnesota's defense showed up to play. Or Javonte Williams against Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh's not looked good this year. So I think I would go with the running back just to have him in, especially if you're going to keep Hunt and Chubb in your running back 1 and 2 spots. Andy, you want to break down kind of what you're thinking? Paul, you want to jump in on Andy's lineup here?
I mean, if I were Andy, I probably would keep the exact same lineup. I think Javonte Williams has a tough matchup against the Steelers defense at home. Um, I just prefer to have the Browns running backs over Javonte this week. So if I'm him, I'm not touching the lineup at all.
You're just leaving Hawk in the flex and calling it good?
Yep.
Yeah, I am patiently awaiting the Javonte Williams breakout, but it hasn't happened yet. He has not yet started taking carries away from Melvin Gordon. It's still been pretty 50-50. And looking at the Steelers, they haven't allowed a running back to have over 10 fantasy points on the year. They held Joe Mixon to 9.4. They held Aaron Jones to 7.9. So like, it's not like this is a defense that I'm going to take my shot on putting Javonte in and hope that he gets it. If it happens and he's on my bench, so be it, but I'm going to stick with Hawk.
All right. And playing against Paul, you're looking for the touchdown. You're looking for the big targets, right?
Yeah, I think Hawk has upside in any matchup. I mean, he gets the looks. He's gotten 8 targets in every game except the Ravens game. So, like, if those 8 targets turn into 80 and a touchdown, that's 14 points out of my flex, and that feels very doable.
Yeah. All right, so let's run down Paul's team. He's got Mahomes, Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Aaron Jones, Chuba Hubbard, Goddard in at tight end, and Deebo Samuel at his flex, along with a kicker and defense. He does have the Pittsburgh defense in currently, which if Javonte Williams has a big game,
Here's open.
could benefit you over Paul. But really, he's got Gronk on his bench. Gronk's probably out another week. He's got Edmonds, McCaffrey. That's not going to be a playable piece unless he's guaranteed back. And at that point, he's just flipping him in for Hubbard. Then he's got Marvin Jones. So I don't think there's any lineup decisions to be made here for Paul. You're not sitting Deebo at this point. Deontay Johnson, if he's healthy, you're playing him. Metcalf, if he's healthy, you're playing him. Really, his only lineup decision so far has been his tight ends. And with Gronk out, I'm not worried about it. Paul's sticking with what he's got. Either of you want to say anything about this, or we good with Paul just kind of hanging tight with where he's at?
So I know one of the things that came out of this week that we didn't touch on was Big Ben being banged around a little bit and some murmurings of maybe he's getting benched, maybe he's not good to go this week, or maybe a little of both. I don't expect that to happen, but the part of the reason that Deontay is getting 12 targets a week is because Ben can't throw it on the field. And he likes to throw these short little passes to his fast little guy that can go make something happen and pad his stats. So that's working really well right now. And Deontay Johnson's a fine player, but against Denver, and if Big Ben doesn't play, that's 2 big strikes against him in my book. And I'd be looking to move Deebo up and put Edmonds in at the flex and bench Deontay for a week to see what happens if a guy like Mason Rudolph's the quarterback. Like I said, I don't expect that to happen, but it is something that's kind of rumbling out there. So I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, that's fair. And I just assume Big Ben's playing. So at that point, I'm playing Deontay. But you're right. If the whole Steelers team is going to be an issue around Big Ben and everything else, then sure. But my take right now is Big Ben's going to play. He's played through everything so far. The dude's old and broken down. He's going to just play as many games as he can at this point and then retire. So.
Yep.
Go ahead. Paul, what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, this is probably going to be my lineup. My only question mark right now is actually DK Metcalf, because at the moment he's questionable, but I'm anticipating he's going to play on Thursday night. Obviously don't love his matchup against the Rams, but he's obviously going to be in my lineup if he's healthy. If not, probably going to move Deebo to wide receiver and Chase Edmonds get back in my lineup. So.
I mean, Edmonds is the only guy on your bench you can really count on. Marvin Jones is there, but he's had a couple of down weeks. DJ Chark's gone. They really got Chenault involved. I don't know.
Not for nothing, Edmonds is a 7.5 point floor through 4 games, so it's a
Right.
nice luxury to have on your bench.
Mhm.
Right. So, all right, Paul, do you want to take us into Jeremy versus Fryer here?
Whoa!
Would
We gotta
we don't
pick
want to predict
who
it?
wins.
Oh, my fault. I'm losing my.
And for the
Jeez.
and
Have you
for
ever
the
done this
record,
before, Ty?
I've not. I've never done this before.
and for the record, I am projected to win currently by 0.2 points. So this is pretty much the game of the week. If I'm gonna start us off, I'm gonna go that Andy's gonna win this week. I think that his team matches up a lot better. I'm not crazy about my matchups this week. DK Metcalf has a tough one. Deontay Johnson has kind of a tough one, especially if Roethlisberger is, not healthy, whatever the case is. So I'm actually gonna say Andy's gonna win this week, but I hope I'm wrong.
Go ahead, Andy, since I messed this thing up.
So this matchup on my side of the ball, at least, comes down entirely to this Browns Chargers game between Herbert Williams and Chunt. I've got half of my team and over half of my points expected to come from that game. So it's got to be a banger, right? And I was hoping for a banger last week out of the Browns Vikings, and they laid up a dud. So I'm going to ride or die by that game, and I hope it works out. But all that said, like Paul said, his guys don't have great matchups this week. Deontay against Denver, Metcalf against the Rams, and Jalen Ramsey. Mahomes against Buffalo's defense, which has been lights out so far. Paul's got a rough week, hopefully ahead of him, so I am going to go with me, but I'm going to ride or die by that Browns Chargers game.
Yeah. After watching the Chargers this week, Williams and Herbert didn't connect this week, but they can connect any given week and just go
And there
off.
were attempts, like it was
There
there.
It wasn't that they were ignoring him; it just didn't happen. My bet is actually going to go to Paul, and a lot of this is going to ride or die on Chuba being a halfway decent running back. He's got Philly. Philly's not a great defense. To be honest, they're not a great team all the way around. I've been saying it all year. I'm not a big fan of Philly. If Chuba can put up 15 points this week, I think Paul can get the win. Debo against Arizona, I think, is going to be a shootout. If Big Ben plays, Deontay Johnson is going to get targeted 12, 15 times, and he's going to take one to the house. And I think DK is still going to get enough work that we're going to be all right. If we're worried about Buffalo's defense, they could shut down Kelsey too then, which could be an issue for Andy. So it's going to be a hell of a matchup. And a lot of Paul's team is riding on Chuba. And I'm going to say if he can get 15 points, Paul's going to win. So I'm going to take Paul this week.
Fair enough.
All right,
Now you can move on.
Now we can move on. Paul.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I believe now it's your turn to talk about Jeremy versus Fryer.
It is my turn. Low key, another rival. So I'll run down Jeremy's team right now. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts to this one with injuries and waiver claims. So this is what the starting lineup currently looks like. Jeremy has Kyler Murray, Lockett, Jefferson, Mixon, Elliott, Andrews, Robinson, Robbie Gold, and then Tampa Bay's defense. On his bench, he has Latavius Murray, Mark Ingram, Trey Lance, Kenyon Drake, Jacoby Meyer, and New England defense. I'm assuming that Mixon's going to be out this week because it sounds like he's week to week. So I don't know if Jeremy has a waiver claim in for Samaje P. Ryan. If he were to get him, I don't know if he's a person you'd start right away. Might be looking to start Latavius Murray. I guess we'll come back to that. Should I pause here, go through Jeremy's lineup, then go to Fryer's?
Yep.
Sure.
hit Jeremy's all Jeremy's decisions, and we'll go to Friars.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm not. Actually, I lied. I'm probably gonna change one thing currently. I'm gonna put New England's defense in for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, they are decimated with injuries right now, and I am probably going to be staying away from them, especially with New England having Houston. So I would make that swap. Um, Aside from that, assuming that Mixon is not going, you're gonna get Latavius Murray in there, and I think that's about it. And obviously Robbie Gould if he's playing, but
He
you know,
started an injured kicker last week.
yeah, that yeah. That sucked, but he
beat me
squeaked out a
anyways.
victory. Yeah.
That hurts. That hurts.
So, thoughts on this lineup, boys?
Yeah, I think Jeremy's got some moves to make. I agree with swapping the Patriots defense in against Tampa. You want your defense to be playing against Houston. That's a for sure thing. Latavius Murray against the Colts, I'm not as sold on. I think that if Jeremy is able to pick up Pirine or Williams or one of these other waiver wire running backs, that would be the way that I would lean. If he can't, then you probably have to play Latavius Murray just because he's gotten 3 touchdowns and he had 18 touches last week, but I don't feel great about starting a guy and hoping for a touchdown. I feel like Jeremy's not going to be excited about that either. He's had much better options in every other week so far, but that's life with injuries. So, well, this one, I don't have any strong sentiments. I expect it to change by tomorrow morning.
Yep. Find a kicker, switch your defense. At this point, if you don't get any of the major free agents, I'm not actually mad about starting Murray here. They used him as a workhorse against Denver, giving him 18 attempts. Yeah, he didn't do much. He got 60 yards and a touchdown, but I think he could do it again this week. Pop another 60 yards and a touchdown, put another 10 to 12 points up, and I'm not actually mad about that right now. So I think that's the way he's got to go, pending any of these big free agents. But other than that, I don't like the rest of his bench, so it doesn't really matter.
For sure. Cool. And then on the other end, we have Fryer. So currently, he is starting Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Emmanuel Sanders, Dalvin Cook, James Conner, George Kittle, Laviscus Chenault, Matt Prater, Green Bay defense. On his bench, he has David Montgomery, Christian Kirk, Chase Claypool, Williams, Samuel, and Madison. In terms of this lineup, depends really what Fryer is looking for, and also depending on if he gets Damian Williams or not through waivers. If he does get Damian Williams through waivers, I am getting him in my lineup there somewhere. This is kind of a tough one for me because it sort of depends on what Fryer is looking for. James Conner has been pretty solid lately, but I mean, I don't know. Like, you have Christian Kirk there too. So if you're looking for the upside against Jeremy, that's certainly an option. But I don't know if you're necessarily going to need the upside with Jeremy because you have a few guys on your team that that could provide some points. So I'm kind of conflicted on what he should do personally, and it sort of depends on if he gets Damian Williams or not.
Yeah, so I'm actually not mad about starting Connor this week. As much as I hate to say it, the Niners are looking shaky on the defensive side of the ball. Connor could his low on attempts is 8 this year. He had 18 last week against the Rams. Granted, they were trying to run out the clock. They were up and didn't want to give the Rams the ball back with any opportunity to come back. So that helped James Conner a little bit. But even then, he's at 16 and 11 outside of that. With that, I think it's a viable running back at this point for Fryer. Other than that, my only concern would be if he picks up one of these guys.
Who do you play in the flex?
Right. Do you play him in the flex and do you sit Shenault or do you sit Sanders? And I think at this point I'd probably sit Sanders because Shenault has Tennessee and Tennessee's bad. With DJ Chark out, Chenault's just going to keep getting these looks. So if he gets one of these guys, I'm playing Connor or his free agent in the flex and moving Shenault up over Sanders. Sanders is my odd man out for Fryer.
I agree with Ty. I think that was very well said, and I'm not going to add anything to it.
Cool.
This is why I'm good at fantasy all of a sudden, huh?
Who do we think's gonna win this one?
It's kind of tough to call right now because there could be a lot of moving pieces, like we've said on this. But at this point in time, the way it looks, Fryer did just grab some fab, so I imagine he's going to go hard after a Williams or somebody. So I'm going to give it to Fryer, assuming he makes a big move here with free agency.
Fun fact, in his last 2 games against the Lions, Dalvin Cook has averaged 200 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. So those are big numbers. Brady and Evans didn't do very much against the Patriots, who have a good defense. Miami's defense is not as good as the Patriots, but it is decent. I expect Brady to have a bounce back game. And then, like Ty said, Shenault against the Titans is pretty bad. So I like Fryer's matchups. Jeremy's got some issues on his side of the ball that are similar to Fryer's. I don't like his matchups as much. It's tough to call without knowing who is going to be adding some of the bigger names this week. I'm going to assume Fryer gets Williams, and that gives him the edge in my eyes. So Fryer for me.
I'm also picking Fryer as well.
Wow. Also, I don't know if I said it, but Boyer picked me in the last one, and he picked Fryer in this one.
All right.
Perfect.
He sent us.
So Andy, you're moving us on to me versus Chris, I believe.
Yep. Tyler's gonna win.
Yes.
Do we need to do the rest of it?
It says it's a close matchup, Andy.
Well, things get said all the time. Like Boyer and I said that Tom Brady was gonna be good last week, and then he wasn't.
Thank God.
So, yeah. So Chris has Jalen Hurts, Devonta Adams, Jamar Chase, Alvin Kamara, James Robinson, Conklin at tight end, Corey Davis in the flex, Carlson at kicker, Washington football team defense, Melvin Gordon, AJ Brown, J.K. Dobbins, Singletary, Tony Jones, and Jeff Wilson Jr. on the bench. That's a lot of IR pup out on his bench.
And for note, we don't have any IR spots, right?
No, we do not,
okay.
and we never have.
Just checking, making sure that was the thing.
Yeah, not a great roster build. He's got Gordon on the bench against Pittsburgh for the same reasons that I'm not starting Javonte this week, I assume. Corey Davis against Atlanta feels fine to me. And you're definitely not putting Gordon in over Kamara or Robinson. So anybody want to make an argument for a change on Chris's team? He just doesn't have options on his bench. Let's assume that if AJ Brown is in and healthy, he's going to play him over Corey Davis.
Right. That's about the only thing that's. I mean, I could give you the same argument of you could play Melvin Gordon, like I said, for Javonte. But I do think I have the better team. So at that point, I would be playing Corey Davis looking for a couple big plays and a touchdown.
Yep, I agree.
All right, then let's run down Ty's side. He's got Dak and CD. He's got Tyreek, Antonio Gibson, Saquon Barkley, Mike Gesicki, DeAndre Swift, stuck up at kicker. Titans defense. Why the hell do you have the Titans defense? Oh, because they played the Jets last week. That was a mistake.
They played the Jets last week. They played Jacksonville this week. I thought, maybe they'll be all right.
No, they're bad.
Apparently.
Should have known. Ty's bench: T. Higgins, Kenny Galladay, AJ Dillon, Michael Pittman Jr., Zach Moss, Pat Freiermuth. Ty's got a deep bench here, so there are some decisions to be talked about, but not really, because you're starting CD, you're starting Tyreek, you're starting Gibson, Barkley, Swift. So I'm not going to make an argument for any of these guys to start ahead of them. Paul, you got somebody in your eyes that's better than probably CD Lamb or Swift?
I do not. I am keeping that lineup the same. Probably exploring waivers to fix my defense potentially, but that's about it.
Ty, any roster decisions in your eyes?
He might be exploiting the waivers for another defense, but we'll see. Luckily, this will come out tomorrow.
Fair.
At this point, no. If I make a trade for a tight end, then roster decisions will be made. But at this point, it's staying as is. I'm not touching.
Fair enough. I like that we're moving quick, so I have more time for my dad joke at the end. I'll really string it out this week. I know I was pretty short last time. I got Ty this week. Anybody else?
I got Ty.
I'm going to take myself again because I need it again.
Boyer also has Ty. Ty, you should pick Chris so you can try to like get back some of these wins. You can't just pick what the cool kids are picking.
That's fair. All right, let's hit him with a little pow. What you drinking? Paul, you're our guest. What are you working on tonight?
I am working on Truly, the lemonade
Magic
pack.
Truly.
It is phenomenal. If you guys have never had it, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Strawberry is the best flavor, but I did run out, so I am just on the original lemonade flavor.
It's almost like an ad read over there. Paul brought his own sponsors.
Yeah.
He's sitting on a beach. He's drinking Truly.
Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to read my flashcard.
I do feel like you should have like a Corona Premium with a lime. You and Tony Romo could be like the same person on the beach, but it's fine. Andy, what are you drinking, man?
I made a Negroni. Gin, sweet vermouth, Campari. It's very nice. It's one of my favorites.
Good. Well, I'm drinking Pantless again. Went back into one of my favorites recently. So, Alarmist Brewing, Pantless Pale Ale, 6% alcohol. Pretty good. So, if you've ever drank Pantless like Jeremy does every other night, get you a nice beer.
Wait, are you talking about like he drinks Pantless or he drinks Pantless?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you get it.
Sure. I got it.
I mean, everybody. All right, we're not going there. Let's jump into Duo versus Charlie then, and let's see how one of the triplets likes him. But let me run it down for you. I can only imagine, Paul, you're going to rag on your brother a little bit. If you don't, I'll be disappointed. But the duo is bad, so there's only so much you can do. All right, the duo is running Josh Allen, Calvin Ridley, which was once upon a time a good wide receiver with a good semi-decent team, maybe. Robert Woods, Chris Carson, Miles Sanders. He's currently got Ferkser in at his tight end, Cortland Sutton in at the flex, Butker, and the Rams defense. So, looking through this, he's got a guy like Logan Thomas injured on the bench, Jarvis Landry on IR, Peyton Barber, which has a questionable tag with him. What did he do this week? Or did he just sit for precautionary issues this week?
Barber?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All
I
right,
can't keep. We're not professionals, Ty. Nobody's paying us to do this, so we don't look up your own damn research.
Click on the 3 lines over there, and I think it might say.
I don't have time for that. Jacobs was back, so I'm not even worried about Barber. So really at this point, he's got Juju Smith-Schuster or Rondale Moore. So at that point, I guess you could say he's got 5 okay receivers. Who are you starting? You got to keep Ridley in. Outside of that, are you guys starting Juju Smith-Schuster or Rondale Moore over Cortland Sutton or Robert Woods?
I think I'm keeping the lineup the way that it is. Something's got to give for Robert Woods. Like they can't bench him and then have him finally go off. Like he's staying in their lineup, I feel like, until he has that one good game and then remove him. No, I'm keeping what they have currently. I know Chase Claypool has a questionable tag on Yahoo. I don't know how accurate that is, but if he's out, I'd consider trying to get Juju in there. But even so, I don't like the matchup with the Broncos, so I'm probably staying as is.
Yeah, I agree with the Bobby Woods assessment. I think Seahawks is a good matchup. They've given up a lot of everything. Their defense is just not good this year. So here's hoping that he can get back to being productive this week. And you can't bench Calvin Ridley. He's been averaging 10.5 targets a week. It's a bummer that he's not getting the touchdowns. He's not had any like big yardage games. I don't think he's cracked 100 yet, but you can't argue with 10.5 targets a week. So he's for sure staying. I like Sutton even against Pittsburgh. That said, the duos team is not quite Walker level, but it's not great. And they might need to think about swinging for the fences. So I would say throw Rondale Moore in over Sutton in the flex and hope for a home run.
Yep. So that was gonna be my argument is throwing Moore in over Sutton, especially if Bridgewater's out. Drew Lock coming in, I'm not super high on Lock. And at that point, you just pray that Arizona and San Fran have even a mediocre high scoring game where Rondale can get a couple deep targets and maybe put a touchdown in.
Yeah, I will say that they will have a roster decision potentially. Chris Carson plays Thursday night. He sat out today of practice with a neck injury. So if he can't go, they are in a tough spot on who to play. So
they're probably in on these waiver wire guys too this week. I don't know where Fab Money shakes out. Currently, I haven't looked at who's spent what so far, but they could be in on this too.
Yeah. So you're not wrong, but I got no roster decisions at this point for them because all you can really do with what they got is maybe Larry Roundtree in and pray for the best at this point. But their team's not good, so it's just what it comes down to. But yes, this will be a moving parts backfield as well because they need it to be because Sanders has not been good, Carson's not been good. If they want any chance of winning a game here or there, they got to make a move. So let's run down Charlie real quick. He's got Lamar Jackson, Keenan Allen, Godwin, Eckler, Henderson, Jared Cook, Tyler Boyd, Greg the Leg, Baltimore defense. They do have Elijah Mitchell on the bench. They do have Sony Michel on the bench if Henderson, for some reason, is not going. They got Devonta Smith on the bench, but you're not starting him over anybody that's in right now, unless Higgins is back and healthy and they say he's going to get a major role. But at this point, the way Boyd's been playing, I'm going to play Boyd over Deontay Smith right now. So I guess my question is, if Mitchell comes back and plays this week, are you guys starting him or keeping Boyd in? Are you guys moving anything around at this point?
I don't know. That's tough for me too. Something else that I'm keeping an eye on is if T. Higgins continues to be out, because if he's out, part of me wants to keep in Tyler Boyd. I still don't know what the running back situation is like in San Francisco, if Mitchell is going to be the guy when he comes back. So that makes me nervous a little bit. So currently, as it stands, I'm keeping the lineup the way that it is.
I agree. I think Devonta Smith has a rough matchup against the Panthers. And then if Mitchell's playing, I don't know that I trust the workload to be there. Sermon has been okay. Maybe they split a little bit more just to keep Mitchell fresh. I would. That's one where I'd like to see it for a week if I've got another option, and Charlie does. And Boyd has been pretty consistent. Looking at the matchup here, looks like Charlie's got a good 10, 11 point lead in the projections, which is the point where I start feeling comfortable enough to be making some decisions based on locking in a floor as opposed to making sure that I have some upside. And between Boyd, Mitchell, and Devonta Smith, I think Boyd's got the floor of that group, and you really just don't want to lay up a 1 or 2 point performance in your flex and let the duo have that window to get back in this matchup. So I'm sticking with Boyd. Higgins or not.
Yeah, this week for sure, I'm gonna just go ahead and keep Boyd in. I think Mitchell is going to get that lead role, like I said last week. Once he's back, he's going to be the bell cow. And by bell cow, I mean it's still a Niners running attack where they do a little bit of everything, but Mitchell fits the system better. Shanahan will find a way to use him. He's made a lot out of nothing. Shanahan has with running backs. And Mitchell's the guy that he likes. Mitchell's the guy he's going to use. But I am with Andy. I'm going to give him a week, make sure he is back, make sure he is healthy before I just throw him in there and go for the boom game where right now Charlie should be just sitting on that floor playing Boyd, taking the win against duo and moving on. So
Yeah.
I'm taking Charlie.
Yep.
I'm assuming you guys are all taking Charlie.
I'm taking Charlie too. Also, Andy, I feel like you manifested Charlie's new roster because I know you were saying for the last couple weeks he's got to do something about his roster because it was also tough to look at. So happy that we're seeing a better team of Charlie's because I know every time like I see Charlie sitting on the couch just like staring at his fantasy team and I was like, oh man. So
just like tear.
yeah. So yeah.
Charlie, feel free to drop Le'Veon Bell. That was a horrible ad, and it's horrible that he's still on your roster. Go ahead and drop him, bud.
So he actually dropped him and then he added him during a game on Sunday, I think. So he's back on the roster, but he was off his team and now he's back on the team. So
even if he plays, that guy is not good. So
it feels like a Le'Veon type move, though. Le'Veon would be signed and dropped and signed and never actually put in the field. So it is what it is.
yeah.
Boyer picked Charlie too. I don't know if I said that.
No, you didn't, but I assumed it. All right, Paul, you want to jump into Colin versus Robbie for us?
Yes. So Colin's team currently as it stands, he is starting Stafford, Diggs, Hopkins, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, Noah Fant, Marquise Brown, Justin Tucker, Kansas City defense. On his bench, he has Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, Will Fuller, Tyler Johnson, Cordero Patterson, and San Francisco 49ers defense. So we were kind of talking about this earlier about what do you do with Cordero Patterson because you spent so much free agent bucks on him, but do you insert him in your lineup? The only thing that I can think of is where you'd insert him is taking out Hollywood Brown, but even then, like, I don't know. Yeah, I personally am not sold on Patterson. I feel like we all kind of said it. Like he seems like a guy that's going to be on your bench and he's just going to rack up points and that's going to be it. But I'm probably going to keep the lineup the way that he has it currently. Thoughts on that?
Nope,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I don't think I can bench Hollywood. Like Hollywood's only down game was the game that he dropped 3 touchdowns. So he's been good this year.
And even then, last week we said bench him against Denver, and he put up a good game against Denver.
He did.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he did it on 4 catches, so he can have the big game on limited targets. So even if he only does have a couple targets against Indy, I think he can still put up a couple decent receptions and a touchdown and still have a good game. I mean, this dude's just tearing it up. I didn't expect shit from this dude this year, and boy was I wrong. So I'm not moving him. Last week I said get him out of the lineup, and I'm not going to say it again. So go ahead and play Hollywood and be happy about it.
Cool.
I wish Ayuk for the Niners' sake would be worth a damn, but he's been such a bust this year.
Yeah, and I like Waddle this week against the banged up Bucks, but I don't see a spot where he fits into Collins' starting lineup.
Right.
Well,
the only roster decision I would say is maybe finding another defense. If you got another defense outside of the 2 you already have.
Yeah, neither of those is great this week.
yep. Cool. Moving on to Robbie's team. So Robbie is currently starting Russell Wilson, Adam Thielen, OBJ, Derrick Henry, Myles Gaskin, Tyler Higbee, Damian Harris, Tyler Bass, Buffalo defense. On his bench, he has Devontae Parker, Josh Jacobs, Stevenson, I can't remember his first name, Ramondre, Tyrell Williams, Henry Ruggs, and Tim Patrick. So quite a few roster decisions here, and I'm curious to hear you guys' take on this too. I am not crazy about Myles Gaskin at all, especially against Tampa Bay. I know they're banged up, but they're really good against the run in general. So I'm
Vita Vea is healthy. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm putting Josh Jacobs in for Myles Gaskin because Josh Jacobs is healthy. Now, this is the part that I'm conflicted on. And I don't know if I would do this, but I would give it some serious thought. Is benching Damien Harris for Devontae Parker because of how banged up the Bucks cornerbacks are. I don't like Devontae Parker. I don't like Dolphins wide receivers, but it caught my eye a little bit and I'd think about it. I don't know if I would do that, but I would think about it.
So here's what I would say. I know that Andy and Boyer were high on this dude last week. I was not. I'm still not high on him. I do not like him. I'm sitting OBJ. I am not an OBJ guy. If you're going to put Parker and I'm putting him in for OBJ, Damian Harris has Houston. I am not benching Damian Harris against Houston. That game, even if Houston puts up a couple touchdowns, New England's going to win. They're going to have to run the ball some because they're just going to want to kill that clock because that game's going to take forever. You want to just ground and pound them a little bit, kind of like Arizona did against the Rams last week, just to secure that win, run that clock out. Damian Harris is going to be that guy. I cannot sit Damian Harris this week. If you want to play Parker, I'm playing him over OBJ. I still do not like OBJ. I would be taking a shot on Ruggs or Parker over OBJ again this week. So that's my take. Who I would play there, doesn't really matter. Play anybody but OBJ.
I agree with Ty. I don't like the matchup for OBJ this week. I would lean towards Ruggs over Parker. It's pretty close, but I think Ruggs has a little bit more upside than Parker does at this point. And depending on how Collins' team does, Robbie might need it. And I don't think that Ruggs has any more chance of giving you a bad week than Parker does at this point. So I'll go with the upside.
So I didn't want to say Ruggs right away because then you would have been like, oh, this guy's predictable, right? So
Ruggs again.
So I decided to let you say it first.
I thought the first thing I thought was, wow, Parker's really old for Tyler to be talking about him this much. He's been in the league for way more than 1 year.
Yeah, well,
After that, they fall off your radar. 2 years max.
Right. So with that, who's going to win this one, Paul?
So I'm gonna go with a pretty unpopular pick here. I think I'm actually gonna pick Robbie, just because of their matchups. I think Colin obviously has the better team here, but I don't know. My gut tells me Robbie this week, and because I want it to happen.
Yeah, same. I would love for Robbie to win this one. And actually, I am with you on it. Derrick Henry against Jacksonville, Damian Harris against Houston, Russell Wilson, Seattle and LA, they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have a big game. And it's going to have to go through Russ. Really, the only thing I don't like about Robbie's team right now is the OBJ situation. I don't know what you're going to do about your wide receiver too. Andy and I say play Ruggs, but I don't know how I feel about DeAndre Hopkins right now. The Niners defense isn't great, but Hopkins has had a couple down weeks. He's still Hopkins. He's still a good receiver. I get that. But Kyler's not afraid to throw it to AJ Green, to Christian Kirk, to Rondale Moore. He's not afraid to dump it off to Edmonds. He'll give it to Connor if that's the case. He'll run the ball. I mean, they got so many freaking weapons in Arizona. I feel like it's the Tyreek Hill Kelsey thing, right? Tyreek Hill had 2 bad weeks. He got nothing. They spread the ball across the field, and then last week Tyreek Hill goes off. I mean, Hopkins could have a killer game, but he could also have a not great game. So, and then Najee Harris against Denver, that one could be tough. Taylor against Baltimore, that's not necessarily the most favorable matchup for running back either. So I don't like the matchups on Colin's side. So I'm going to take Robbie in this one. I think Colin's going to underperform in this one.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one. Robbie's running backs have fantastic matchups. Henry against Jacksonville, Harris against Houston are great. Jacobs against the Bears should be good-ish. And then on Colin's side, Diggs gets to play against Kansas City. Their defense has been mediocre at best, and that game is hopefully going to be a shootout. And Marquise Brown against Indy, who has given up some pretty solid wide receiver production so far this year. I think could be a big game for him. And then looking at quarterback, Stafford and Wilson play each other, but Wilson has to go against the Rams defense, and Stafford gets to go against the Seahawks defense, which is really bad. So Colin's getting it back in other spots. This is my matchup of the week, hands down. I'm going to go with Colin, and the reason that I'm going with Colin is because Derrick Henry has, I believe, if my math is right, 96 carries in the last 3 weeks. So if they end up against Jacksonville, which after last week, who knows, that might not happen. But if they end up, I expect him to get some much needed time away from the field, lest his legs fall off. As much as I would love to see Derrick Henry put up 200 yards on the Jaguars like he's done in the past, I think that guy needs a break. I think that if it's available to him, that they will give it to him, and that could be the deciding factor. But this was a tough one. I'm leaning Colin. Boyer picked Colin too.
And I'm getting a game back this week. See? I didn't pick with all the cool kids. I picked with Paul.
Love it.
Although I hate you still, Paul.
I hate you too.
All right, fair. Andy, you're on the Boyer and Walker?
Yeah, this should be fun. Okay. So Boyer has Cousins, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Naeem Hines, Darren Waller, Brandon Cooks, Q, and the Bears defense. He's got Judy, Michael Carter, Jamal Williams, Terrace Marshall, Ryan Tannehill, and the Denver defense on his bench. Yeah.
Whole bunch of garbage.
Same.
Cousins or Tanny at quarterback? Ty?
I mean, I'm going to stick with Cousins.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm going Cousins for sure.
Yeah, I'm going Cousins too. I thought there was a discussion for it this week, but I guess the Tennessee losing to the Jets last week kind of nixes that. So Cousins across the board there. I expect Boyer to be in on the waiver sweepstakes for Williams or even P. Ryan, because I just can't see starting Naeem Hines at RB2, especially against Baltimore, but especially any week because that guy doesn't even get 10 carries in a game. So you're just hoping for a touchdown or a boatload of receptions, which is not a good hope. So who knows? Who knows what RB2 looks like? Given the choice between Jamal Williams, Michael Carter, or sticking with Hines, I'm going to go Williams because I like the floor there, maybe. I'm not excited about any of these guys as an RB2. What do you guys lean of the three on his roster right now?
I would lean Williams as well. I don't like Hines. I mean, like you're literally just hoping that he has a big week, and I know like Boyer's trying to maximize his potential with his roster, but there's something about Jamal Williams's floor that I would just prefer to have, so I'm going with Williams there.
Nope. I'm starting Michael Carter against Atlanta. Carter had a decent week last week.
In London.
What's that?
Oh, that's right. It says 8:30 a.m. next to his name.
In London. We're gonna wake up that morning and Michael Carter is gonna have like 2 touchdowns and
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope. I'm playing him against Atlanta. I'm taking that shot. I think even with the floor debate, I think Michael Carter's floor this week is still going to be 6 to 8 points. Just because I don't like Atlanta, and I think New York has realized that they can go through Michael Carter for a little bit.
All right.
So
I'll let you have that. I expect that this changes after waivers go through, so it may all be a moot point. Anybody want to argue for Terrace Marshall over Brandon Cooks? I doubt it. All right, on to Walker.
I could argue for if he gets a Williams in at that RB2, I could argue for Michael Carter over Brandon Cooks maybe.
Really?
I think that floor is there. I like Cooks in his 100-yard games, but I think Michael Carter, if you say he's going to get 6 to 8, but could put in a touchdown, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think he plays. Sorry, he's messaging me right now. I think he plays Cooks, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I lean towards Cooks. I like what Cooks has been doing lately. I don't think I'd change it.
Something really quick too, won't spend too much time on this, but another one would be, would you want to potentially start Denver's defense over Chicago? I mean, Steelers are not very good, but also like, I don't think the Bears defense is as bad as everybody thought they would be toward the beginning of the season, but they're in Vegas. I don't know, just a thought there, but
I do think I lean Denver's defense.
I could go either way. I think the Bears are more of a turnover team, where Denver's gonna just hold you to maybe a lower score, get a couple sacks, especially against Pitt. I mean, with Najee, with the short passes, unless they're really fumbling the ball, it's not like they're airing out the ball way downfield to where the interceptions are coming this week. Where Vegas loves to throw the ball deep, loves to just heave the ball a whole bunch of times, which means they could score more. But I think there's also more of an opportunity for interceptions for botched plays. I think I'm going to keep the Bears in this week. After watching Vegas play against the Chargers, I think Vegas has had a fairly weak schedule so far. I mean, Pittsburgh isn't what they have been advertised. Miami's mediocre. They did have Baltimore week 1, but Baltimore didn't look great. So I think that they've had a fairly weak schedule, and I think what we saw the other night against the Chargers is going to be more like what we should expect from LA moving forward, or Las Vegas moving forward. So I'm going to start Chicago.
The Raiders through 4 games are averaging 9 points more per game than the Steelers are. And the Steelers offensive line is really bad. So I'm going with Denver for those reasons.
Fair. I can go either way, but I'm taking a shot on Chicago.
All right, moving to Walker. He's got Rodgers at quarterback, Amari Cooper, DJ Chark, who's on the IR in his lineup currently, Mike Davis, Trey Sermon, Kyle Pitts, Antonio Brown, Myers at kicker, Colts defense. On his bench, he's got Pollard, Julio Jones, Leonard Fournette, AJ Green, Derek Carr, and Michael Thomas on the pup. Not benching Rodgers for Carr. I would move Antonio Brown up to fill in for DJ Chark because he's hurt. And I would put Pollard in at the flex because that's what's been good lately. Pollard's been getting double-digit carries the last 3 weeks, and he's been able to do something with them. It seems like the Cowboys are committed to the run. So that's what I would do. Let's assume that Antonio Brown is the clear wide receiver 2. Who you guys got at the flex between Pollard, Julio if he plays, Fournette, AJ Green?
I'm actually inclined to take Fournette in the flex option. I do like Tony Pollard a lot, but I like him more if this was a PPR league. So I'm going to go with Fournette in the flex.
So I am assuming Elijah Mitchell's healthy enough to play. And I think if he is, they're going to split carries between Sermon and Mitchell. I'm actually playing both Fournette and Pollard and sitting Sermon.
Okay.
So if Sermon is the only back there this week and he's going to be the workload guy, I'm going to go Fournette over Pollard for this week.
That's actually not a bad call.
I will be sticking with Sermon between those two, but
even if Mitchell's playing.
Yeah. Walker just gave up Montgomery, which granted Montgomery's hurt, but Walker just gave up a guy to add Sermon. As much as I bash the front offices for doing this, I mean, you got to stick with the guy that you just invested in, right? Like, why do it if you're not gonna play him?
Because it's a keeper value type guy.
You're right. Walker, if you're listening, start Michael Thomas.
No, if Mitchell's back, I'm not starting Sermon. I think that Mitchell fits that system better. I've said it over and over, and I can't do it. I would rather have Pollard and Fournette that are more proven guys than Sermon. But
fair enough.
Either way, let's let Walker make that decision in the end. And either way, we'll give him a hard time for losing this week.
We're gonna win. I got Boyer.
I'm got Boyer as well.
I am actually taking the underdog, and I'm going Walker.
Wow.
I also think like this is the Kyle Pitts game. So
interesting. I like it. Boyer picked himself, so.
Well, Boyer knows best on his team, right?
Sure.
All right. Let's jump in. Since Boyer's not here, Boyer was supposed to run our dad joke tonight. So we're going to walk through another story lane. Andy, you want to take us away with a little dad joke?
I do.
Is there going to be a punch
everybody's
in this
excited.
one?
There is.
Okay,
Are you excited?
Yeah, because after 3.5 minutes last time, I didn't get a punch. And I was nervous. So,
Jacob got punched for him and his date.
That's right.
He didn't even have to wait in line.
That's right. Go ahead. Hit us with another dad joke here.
So there was this man named Juan. He was a simple man. He lived in a really small rural town with his family, himself, his wife. He had a daughter and a son. And Juan had just 3 rules for his family that he enforced very strictly. The 3 rules were no drugs, no smoking, no swearing. Now, Juan's family was very happy to follow these rules. And as a result, Juan had the perfect family. Because of these rules, Juan's family never fought, they never bickered, they never lied or hurt each other. Now, Juan's neighbor came over, seeing how happy Juan and his family was, and said, Juan, what's your secret? Juan said, well, why don't you come over for dinner? I'll tell you about it. So his neighbor comes over for dinner the next night, and Juan says, we have a perfect life, and it's because of my 3 rules. Those 3 rules are no drugs, no smoking, no swearing. The neighbor says, really? That's it? Juan says, yeah. So the neighbor goes home. He tells his wife. They implement the 3 rules. Lo and behold, they start following the rules, have a perfect family. No bickering, no arguments, nothing. Perfect family. Well, word starts getting around town, and the mayor comes to see Juan, and he says, Juan, tell me about these 3 rules that I keep hearing about. What's that all about? And Juan says, well, come on over for dinner, and I'll tell you about them. Juan says, we have a perfect family here. We don't fight or argue or anything, all because of my 3 rules, which is no drugs, no smoking, no swearing. The mayor's like, wow. And that works? Juan's like, oh yeah. I mean, neighbor tried it and he's got the perfect family now too. The mayor's like, wow, all right. So the mayor goes back to town hall and he drafts up some legislature, implements these 3 rules for the entire town. And some grumbling at first, but after about a week, no drugs, no smoking, no swearing, this town is completely transformed. It's the perfect town. Now, country starts to notice this town had some issues, but not lately. They've been the perfect town. What's going on? So they send some representatives down, talk to the mayor. The mayor says, you got to go talk to Juan. Juan's our guy. He's the one who put us on the right path. So Juan welcomes these federal agents into his house. He says, gentlemen, all you need is the 3 rules. You need no drugs, no smoking, and no swearing. Life will be perfect. So these federal agents look around, see how perfect everything is for Juan, for his family, for his neighbor, for the town. They go back, they tell the president. The president says, fine, we'll implement these rules. They implement the rules overnight, total transformation of the country. Damn near perfect. And the rest of the world quickly takes notice. To make a long story short, the entire world implements these 3 rules. No drugs, no smoking, no swearing. And everything is perfect. Well, after about a month of this perfect life, there gets to be, maybe a handful of people who are like, I kind of miss drugs. I kind of miss swearing. I kind of miss smoking. And they kind of form this like underground militia with a plan to go deal with Juan for all of the things that he's taken away from them in order to achieve this perfect world. And they formulate a plan. They put it into action several days later. In the middle of the night, several of these militia dissenters break into Juan's house. They kidnap him, load him into a helicopter, fly out into the middle of the desert, tie him to a cactus. And what do? They shoot him dead with a golf gun. What's a golf gun, you might ask? I'm not sure exactly, but it sure put a hole in Juan.
God damn it.
Oh boy.
At one point during that, I was like, maybe the joke is for him to just start spewing out random information until one of us just interrupted him saying, oh, no, that's it.
Oh,
Oh,
Well,
my goodness.
I'm glad I waited 3.5 minutes for that hole in one.
This is what you get for not prepping a joke.
You got a
it was
yawn out of
Boyer's-
Ty too.
It was Boyer's week. I wasn't ready. I'm gonna be ready next week. We're gonna hit you with some short, sweet dad jokes.
I'm always ready.
30 seconds. That's about all we can handle anyway.
Nope.
Um,
I got through my matchups quick for this.
all right.
All
On
right,
that note,
all right. I got a really good I'll just say a funkle joke because I'm not a dad.
Fair.
But I have a really good knock knock joke. But Andy, you got to start it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there, man? Hilarious.
gotta. You have to.
I'm
start it. What do you-
so sorry. Never get invited back to this podcast.
You have to start the knockback joke and hit us with
Yeah.
like, oh, all right. On this note, we are going to just start sending power rankings to you guys. Maybe it'll hit some more discussion when you guys actually look at these and see how good I am and how far up the rankings I moved because I had a good week. My team's still good. All right, Andy, don't look at me like that. Anybody got anything going on this week?
My brother-in-law is getting married on Saturday.
If he's not watching the podcast, don't care. Paul, anything good going on this week?
I got a wedding on Saturday and going golfing on Sunday morning. So hopefully I get a hole in Juan.
Nailed it.
Wait, you
I
mean
like
you're going golfing during the London game?
I know. I know.
with a golf gun?
I know. Part of me wishes that was the Bears game so I could listen to Jeff Joniak on the course. Nothing like it, but
All right. Well, if we got nothing else exciting going on, if you like, subscribe, comment, I'll like you more. If not, I don't really care about you. And I think me and Andrew are the only ones that have commented so far. So to all of you guys out
Colin
there,
Kelly did. Thank you, Colin Kelly.
Oh,
You are our
Colin
number
Kelly,
one
shout out.
fan.
shout out to you, Paul. Shout out for you to joining us.
Thanks, Paul. You were great.
Appreciate you tonight.
I just want to say really quickly, thank you for having me. I feel honored. However, the next time, hopefully the next time that I'm on here, I will be taking that trophy right behind Andy and it will be right behind here. So
on the beach.
You see, I've
with
got
you.
the
see,
duck
but-
guarding it.
yeah. That's like the Ted Lasso with the little army guys just hanging out there. But sweet. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys. Have a great week. I'm gonna win this week, so we're moving towards playoffs.
You're supposed to
See ya.
stop talking when we all wave, Ty.
Sorry, my fault.